Out in the frontier of space, bounties don't wait from warrants. Neither do we. The Rangers don't always approve of our methods. But when a job goes beyond their standard enforcement protocol, we are the ones they call. People think we're just ex-Rangers gone rogue, chasing bounties for profit. We were Freestar Rangers once. The badge came off, but the work didn't stop. And for what we do, speed and firepower aren't enough. You need a ship built for the hunt. That's why we fly the Strike Lancer. Because when a target runs past the edge of Freestar jurisdiction, someone still has to follow. These are once YT-421 pursuit ships. We bought a fleet of them and had the folks at Lindan Engineering give them a top-to-bottom overhaul. At its core sits an RD-4 mag-inertial grav reactor, feeding K2 arc-jet sublight engines, built to chase relentlessly and never back down. The frame was reinforced with military-grade hull plating and an HMF shield booster for added insurance. And when the talking stops, we fall back on what works. A Talon Strike double missile launcher removes the option to run. Dual Raptor Claw photon cannons disrupt shields and critical ship systems. Then twin GX ballistic pulse cannons finish the job. Sometimes we operate alone, sometimes with a full crew. These ships can hold up to 4 track rangers, fully equipped for the toughest jobs, and still have enough space to detain up to 10 prisoners in onboard holding cells. Supplies, mission equipment, and any contraband we seize all fit in the ship's cargo hold. Reinforced hull plating, new weapons, faster engines, everything tuned for long hunts and the worst situations. The Rangers might not like how we operate, but the law only goes so far. With the Strike Lancer, we go the rest of the way.
Overwatch to Lancer 2, maintain this vector of approach. You are clear to engage all hostiles.
Lancer 2 copy. Engaging hostiles. Lancer 2 to Overwatch, all hostiles, KIA.
Overwatch copy. Hell of a job out there, Lancer 2. We've got you cleared for pad 7. Drinks on us when you land.
Alright, shipwrights, welcome to another LEC build. Today we're going to be doing a Star Wars inspired ship called the TR-17 Strike Lancer. The Strike Lancer is a heavily modified variant of the YT-421 pursuit ship, which was built by Sea Departure 4531 on Reddit. The YT-421 was co-developed by his own Dagon Industries and Corellian Engineering Corporation, and it earned a reputation for being a fast, agile gunship that was ideally suited for bounty hunting. That performance caught the attention of the TR Rangers, an outfit within the Trackers Alliance, comprised of former Freestar Rangers who left to pursue the lucrative bounty hunting market. While their tactics often draw disapproval from more traditional enforcement outfits, the Freestar Collective continues to contract the TR Rangers for high-risk operations that fall outside of standard Freestar Ranger protocol. Development of the Strike Lancer was officially sanctioned to bolster the TR Ranger fleet, providing them with a purpose-built interceptor for high-priority targets. Now I gotta say, Sea Departure absolutely cooked with the YT-421 build. It's got this really cool Corellian design, so I just had to try my own version of it. After all, LEC is a play on CEC, in case you didn't know. At 66 meters long and 44 meters wide, it's at least a full hab wider than Sea Departure's YT-421, and about a hab longer. If you don't count the landing bays, the ship is just a single deck, so there's no ladders in this build. And speaking of the landing bays, this ship does have two. However, for my particular hab setup, I have a Falkland 2x1 brig just over that forward landing bay, and that hab does not have top and bottom access into it. It only allows for fore, side, and aft access. So because that forward landing bay is underneath it, that means you can't access this landing bay. Sometimes the hab interiors are just going to prevent these sort of things, so if you want this landing bay to work properly, you just have to use a different hab. I'll remind you about this when we get to that part of the build. Now you're going to need just over 1.9 million credits to build this ship exactly as seen in this guide. Over 80% of this budget is tied just to the Matilia weapons and components, which includes the SF2 grav drive, the VT2 Saker engines, an HMF shield generator and shield booster, the CHL-30 retractable cargo hold, and the Class A direct fire lasers. The rest of the ship is just going to cost about 360k. As far as the mod situation goes, this build does require the use of paid mods, and unfortunately, there's no real way to do a free alternative of this. The first paid mod is Falkland Systems by Helmir, which costs 500 credits on the Creation store. All the habs in the cockpit are Falkland, and this does include those new quarter habs in the rear. I'm also using the Class B ballistic thorax cannons and some other Falkland exclusive parts for the hull. The second paid mod is ASC Deimos by Whizziker, which costs 400 credits. Most of the ship's hull is comprised of ASC Deimos parts, along with the various sensors and scanners on the ship. You could get away with using parts from Trinity Aerospace, but it will take a bit more work and creativity to kind of match that same shape. And the last paid mod is Bad Tech Subspace Warfare by WK Baldwin, which costs 200 credits. This one isn't necessary, I'm just using a comm spike as Greebling and the Bad Tech version of the Deimos Belly, which adds 1500 cargo capacity. Okay, there's a few more things that I need to cover before we begin. When building out this ship, I recommend going to New Atlantis first to source all the Falkland parts listed in my parts list. Then head on to New Homestead to purchase the NG-20 landing gear, which are exclusive to that ship vendor. Then you can build the rest of the ship at an outpost landing pad where you'll have access to all the remaining parts needed. Number 2, I suggest starting every build from now on with what I call a multi-tool setup that includes a mini bracer and the 3 main hab snaps that we pretty much use for every single build. It's always good to just have quick access to these parts, and it's definitely recommended for this build. As for the build process itself, towards the end, I start getting a little carried away with Greebling, and so there's going to be some sections where we're doing some adjustments. Nothing's complicated, it's all pretty straightforward. The guide is broken into chapters with timestamps, and all the instructions are subtitled, so you can build this at your own pace. But always remember, if you have any questions or if you get stuck anywhere, feel free to reach out to me in the comments. Alright, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Now whenever I'm working on a ship I really care about, like the Strike Lancer build, I find myself tinkering way more with the ship and the interior decorations, and that takes up a lot more time, so I apologize for the delay on this video. But so far I gotta say, I do rank this build in my personal top 3. You all know I have a thing for asymmetric builds and rugged freighters, and this is kind of the best of both worlds. Again, all credit goes to cdeparture4531 on Reddit for the inspiration. And if you happen to dabble with No Man's Sky, I also built a version of this called the Dune Runner, which you can find in the video description. That version is more of a smuggler build, which is my preferred role for a ship like this, but I stuck with the bounty hunter theme for the Strike Lancer because I haven't done a dedicated bounty hunter build for Starfield since November. Now my next few Starfield builds will be a mix of viewer requests and original ships, including another Class N build. Discal just released a new mod called Antares Supra, and I'm going to be messing around with it for a while because he added hundreds of new parts with variations. As we can come to expect with Discal, his latest mod also has moving parts and engines, as well as 5 new cockpits and 2 new landing bay lifts. Antares Supra also comes with its own Star Yard POI along with a quest, so I think it totally justifies the 1000 credit price tag. But either way, I think what Discal is doing is very impressive, and I'm more than happy to support his work. My No Man's Sky outlook is pretty similar. I'll be knocking out some viewer requests for the next couple of builds, and then I'm going to do a recreation of the Mercury Star Runner, which is my personal favorite ship design of all time. And last thing, while this is not really my area of expertise in terms of content, I may do a video or two covering the new Starfield update when it releases, since it's assumed to be heavily ship focused. I'm not going to confirm this now because I'm sure guys like Crimson, Richard, and Starfield Eclipse will all be covering it, but if I have the time, I'll try to put out some content. Okay, that all being said, just want to say thank you for the continued support and for tuning in. As always, feel free to reach out to me in the comments if you have any questions or build requests, or if you just want to chat all things Starfield and No Man's Sky ship building. This is Lindan, signing off. See you in the Starfield.